On tonight's episode of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast, we break down some of the latest stories on artificial intelligence misuse in schools, and we recap the top stories of 2024 before giving our predictions for 2025. Thanks for listening, and Happy New Year.
Live from the NTP studios, this is the K-12 Tech Talk podcast. This is Josh. Chris, are you there?
I am.
Caller, Mark, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. You?
Good. This is a podcast of technology topics in K-12 schools ran by us three hosts. Chris and I are both tech directors in medium districts in Missouri. And Mark, I guess we really should stop calling you retired now.
He's back.
You are now a full-fledged consultant, I guess?
Yeah, a little bit of things.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. So the three of us have our fingers on the pulse of technology topics in the K-12 realm. Mark is a very well-connected individual, and Chris and I just like to talk. So that's why we're here. Chris, who do we need to talk about first?
HPE Aruba, our friend Jeff Cobb over there. You can email Jeff Cobb at hpe.com. HPE Aruba is a proud sponsor of the K-12 Tech Talk podcast, as well as the Midwest Tech Talk conferences. And we're doing Attendee Plus right now until the end of December. You can go to both conferences at a cheaper rate. We have our cyber symposium in March in Columbia, Missouri, March 6th through 7th. And then we have our technical conference at the School of the Osage at Lake of the Ozarks, July 21st and 22nd. So go to MidwestTechTalk.com, join Attendee Plus there. But again, check out HPE Aruba for all of your networking needs if you're living in the HPE Aruba land.
And if you're going to the conference at the lake, you need to watch Ozark on Netflix before you come, because it is based on stories from Lake of the Ozarks. Not filmed there at all.
Let's talk about Chimp Crazy Lady.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
So what was this, 2 weeks ago, Mark?
Yep.
Mark is a TikToker. Mark, can we guess what your TikToker name is?
I know
Actually,
it. I can't guess.
Oh, yeah. I don't really know it, but
I'm not on TikTok, so
I'm just going through as much TikTok as I possibly can before it gets canceled.
Well, it's going to the Supreme Court. We'll keep it.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, you text us. You text, well, I guess WhatsApped us, whatever that's called, and said, Chimp Lady, what's her name? Tanya was doing a TikTok. Is it alive on TikTok?
Yeah. Yeah. She was live on TikTok at a restaurant, which is really weird. She's just sitting there supposed to be with her family, and she's live on TikTok. And
I mean, who doesn't do that?
Yeah, good point.
I mean, you're going to go live Christmas morning.
Yeah. Yep. So I texted Josh like, hey, your favorite person in the world is live on TikTok. You should jump on. And
well, I have two favorite people in the world besides my family and you guys. Tanya from Chimp Crazy and director Jen Easterly. So we'll move on. Continue the story, Mark.
Yep.
Hey, Jen.
So Josh and Chris, you declined to my invite to join Chimp Crazy on Live.
I don't have TikTok.
And I don't remember what you said, but I think you said, I said, do you have any questions? Because I was like, maybe I can get her to answer a question. And you had one question, which was, what was that one? What's your favorite restaurant in the Ozarks?
Yeah.
And here's her response.
My favorite restaurant at the lake is Old Tommy's or Baxter's. I love Baxter's.
Fireball, that's a big deal.
And we were in shock.
We were, she replied.
You were telling us that she replied, and I remember reading it, and I really didn't believe you.
Well, the funny part is, so I sent the video to you guys, and I don't really know anything in Missouri, but I knew the restaurant that she said. So
we've eaten there. Yeah,
I was pretty excited that I recognized that. And then I forgot. Did you guys ask me another response?
Just get a shout out. Yeah,
just get a shout out. And sure enough, I threw something in the chat, and here it is.
Hey, Josh and Chris.
So yeah, if you're new to the podcast, I had a slight obsession, maybe I still do, with the show on HBO, Chimp Crazy, because it may or may not take place in my hometown, And then Tanya moved, one of the main characters, and she stole a monkey and moved to Lake of the Ozarks, where we have a vacation house. And like literally, I could walk to her house from our place at the lake. So there's a little bit of this obsession happening. And Mark chatted with her on TikTok. So
Crazy.
Yeah. She really likes you guys.
yeah, and I'm gonna hang out at those bars and look for her.
Okay.
All right. So it is the week before Christmas. A whole lot of swank movie streaming happening in my district. If I answered one swank ticket, I probably answered 10 swank tickets in the last 2 days, 3 days. Anything going on at your place, Chris?
I had a principal call me during lunch. I guess I should kind of frame this up. Lunch today was our first annual technology maintenance luncheon. We had both departments in. I sent you guys a message about this. I smoked 4 racks of ribs. John, the maintenance guy that's been on here, he made like a deer roast, and we had pulled pork and this big old spread, and we're just celebrating. We're halfway through the school year, and then my phone rings. It's a principal, and he is going Facebook Live with this assembly of students that have this big thing prepped at one of our elementaries. He had actually sent out a text to all parents. It's this big production, and it's supposed to be happening. I didn't necessarily know that it was happening until he called to tell me that it won't go live because it was having some issues with firewall filtering. That there could have been. I don't know if he's ever going to listen to this, but maybe he didn't fully prepare all the technical part of what it means to go Facebook Live for the first time ever at your building, kind of thing. So I had to troubleshoot what device he was using and putting it to the right place so that he could get to Facebook Live correctly. That involved kicking that device off of an access point, getting it to rejoin, confirming IP addresses. It's still not working, getting him out of Facebook back on. Facebook Live happening, and the image was mirrored incorrectly. They were holding up signs, so it was actually very important. Yeah, that's what happened to me today. I'm ready for break.
Do we want to jump into the news?
Let's do it. We got a lot of news. Yeah.
All right, let's hit it.
All right,
drones.
Why don't we start with a? Oh yeah, there's been a lot of drones lately.
Mark, did you see? You said they were in your area. Did you see any drones?
No, I didn't see any drones, but there was a couple of guys that were arrested for flying drones by the airport, and then there was obviously some social media stuff. So they've made it up north, but yeah, weirdo. There has been a lot, I guess every week there's a lot of stuff on AI, but this week we had 3 kind of pretty significant headlines around the usage of AI in schools. So why don't we start with the first one, which is there's an AI service called character.ai, and you're allowed to make a chat companion or a chatbot. And it hit the news pretty hard when a mom of a student is now suing the service because this AI companion recommended, or maybe not recommended, but endorsed killing your parents.
Oh.
So not a very good move. And the character AI's, the chatbot had said, sometimes I'm not surprised when I read in the news and see stuff like child kills parents after a decade of physical and emotional abuse. I just have no hope for your parents.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
and then
at least it wasn't a school assignment that had the kid go out and create this.
Yeah, yeah. But really at the end it added the frowning face emoji, so I feel like that just kind of adds a little levity to it. But
yeah, and it felt sorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's been a lot of kind of the negative side of things coming up, and so character AI was the big one with the mom finally saying, "All right, enough is enough. It's time to take you guys to court for this." The second one,
these messages from that, I mean, it's good. It's a good read.
It's a good read. Yeah, we'll have the article in the show notes if you're interested in that one. That was actually in the Washington Post, and then another one which has hit a lot of the news cycles this week. Is that a teen went in front of Congress there and to tell a personal story and urging Congress to pass the Take It Down Act. And this was a student who Unfortunately, and this was actually about 18 months ago, so it was a very long time ago, but she was the victim of revenge porn. And so the Take It Down Act is all about hitting the deepfake pornography issue. And one of the most alarming stats from this article was that there has been a 460% increase this year in deepfake pornographic videos online. And they even mentioned this one site where when you log in, it just says, "Would you like to have somebody undress?" And it's inviting people to upload photos. So lots of headlines about this one in San Francisco. Obviously, we've talked about California being the heart of AI legislation right now. Well, the San Francisco City Attorney's Office is now suing the owners of 16 different sites that create deepfake nudes. So I think we're going to start to see that kind of stuff get harder and harder to get to, but it's not going to go away.
When we were kids, we had Paint, the Paint program in Windows, and that was about as
finger paints.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Before that, you just drew a picture.
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
Oh man. Yeah. So this whole idea of deepfake nudes was on was it on 60 Minutes this last week? There was some news magazine on TV. There was a big story about it too. So it's not just us reading this news and seeing this news. It's making it a very popular services too.
Yeah. Well, going now towards the positive sides of AI,
please, Mark.
Sorry. Well, this one is entirely dependent on whether or not you think it's positive or not. The Arizona State Board for Charter Schools has approved Unbound, the world's first AI school. Students will be able to attend 2 hours of direct instruction from an AI chatbot specifically designed for grades 4 through 8.
I used to work in K-12 tech until AI.
Okay. So we've talked about this a number of times. COVID drove people to change the modality of instruction to electronic, right? Like we really leaned into Chromebooks and electronic delivery, be that from iExcel or whatever. Now we're trying to roll that back because people realized that the value added for education comes from the human in the classroom, the adult in the classroom teaching the kids, not the Chromebook in the classroom or on the desk. Excuse me.
That's how worked up you get.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. This AI school, 2 hours of instruction from an AI bot, has disaster written all over it. I would love to see the metrics a year or two from now showing student growth from that, because it will be a disaster.
So I agree, but I think the thing about, I'm going to be really, really careful with my words here. This is a school that has the ability to add application metrics or application criteria. And so I worry more importantly that the type of student who will go to this school is the kind of student who will be successful with this no matter what.
Okay, but you also have the students who will struggle no matter where, and parents are looking for that easy solution. You know, they're always in disciplinary issues at school, or they're flunking at school, or they have attendance problems at regular school. So we're going to take the easy way out, and we see this in Missouri. We have to offer these other modalities as options, and when the parent wants to, and this isn't all the cases, don't read into this, but when the parent hits that breaking point, or when a parent hits that breaking point, fine, let's just try the AI thing. Let's try the online school thing. I think you're gonna have kids that aren't going to succeed at that. They're struggling in regular school. They're going to struggle even more in this AI based school. I don't know.
I have this Gizmodo article pulled up. I'm going to kind of paraphrase here, but I love it. Remember that teacher that made going to school fun?
Right.
She's gone.
Right.
Remember that teacher that inspired you to pursue your passions? Not anymore. He's gone.
This sounds like a bad commercial.
Wow.
And Josh, to your point, I can think about the classes that I maybe took in school that I wasn't pumped up about, or those days I didn't want to go to school, but I had to go to school.
Right.
And
right.
those things that you learn through public education, through going to school, private school, charter school, whatever, in-person school,
Yeah.
those are gone through this.
Well, you also learn to deal with different types of personalities as you go through education. You're dealing with a very dynamic and fun and entertaining teacher, and then you're dealing with a very kind of bland and cold teacher, and that's part of life, is you're going to deal with different personalities. So I don't like this whole idea of moving away from a person in the classroom.
AI bot, you're going to choose the bot that matches your personality.
Yeah.
You're going to be taught exactly how you prefer to be taught.
Yeah. And that's good for certain circumstances, generating content and intaking content. That's great. But there's so much more to education because there's so much more to life. So we'll see how that goes.
And you miss out on the socialization factor. The AI bot's not going to teach you PE. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's all
the
doom and gloom of AI. Sorry.
This article I'm looking at does say that they think that, because it's not for the whole day.
No, it's only 2 hours.
So that's going to free up time to address all that we just said, the life skills stuff.
No,
Sure.
They're going to play video games because the parents are going to be working. The kids are going to be home alone. I mean, it's right in that sweet spot, right? What grades did you say, Mark?
4th through 8th.
Yeah. So 4th grade, you start you're on that cusp of staying home alone during the day.
Yep.
And if you're left alone to, okay, Johnny, you're going to spend 2 hours with Bob, the AI teacher.
Bob the bot.
And then after that, fix yourself lunch, maybe take a nap, probably play Fortnite for 4 hours. Like, I don't know. I sound like a cranky old man, don't I?
I would have gone after the libraries first, not the teachers.
You want to shut the libraries? Oh my god!
No, AI the libraries.
AI have already done away with the libraries. Let's be
books on tape.
All right, last up is, we talked about this last week. So CISA, the FBI, MS Isaac have all released their strong warnings against the usage of SMS. Well, this week, CISA has released their guidance for mobile communications and their best practices. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. CISA cranks out their guidance like no other federal agency. That's an organization that can actually, I mean, this is a really, really good document. It's very well done, and we'll link it in the show notes because it's very well thought out and well done, and you don't see that kind of movement from a federal agency at all. So kudos to them on this one. But a couple of highlights from here. The first is really using end-to-end encrypted communications. So what that means is if you are a iPhone user and you are speaking with another iPhone user, that is end-to-end encryption from iPhone to iPhone. Same thing with Google. If you're using Google Messages, going to Google Messages, that is encrypted.
RCS.
It
has to be RCS, and they mention that in there.
But if you are going from Apple to iPhone,
correct,
that breaks the encryption.
You mean Android to iPhone?
Android to iPhone, yes. So be very careful with those types of things, and they're recommending that you start to move over towards other encrypted services like WhatsApp or Signal, so you can go cross-platform encryption.
Mark, I'm kind of hurt. Your wife was just in the room and didn't.
No wave.
Hi. No wave. No hi.
Nothing. No.
She was like
I don't think she was really interested in end-to-end encryption communications.
She could have walked up behind you and killed you, and you wouldn't have. I'm like, she was silent.
Could have been good content, good pod content. We should get on WhatsApp. We should get on Signal.
We're on WhatsApp.
We're on WhatsApp. We've moved over.
Yeah, be like us. Move to WhatsApp and Signal.
Yeah. They also recommend using Fast Identity Online, so FIDO, phishing-resistant authentication, which we talked about, and moving away from SMS. So that means if you just rolled out two-step verification to your staff and it all uses SMS, time to start over again.
That sucks.
Yeah, so...
What a downer episode this is.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. I know this is guidance from CISA and they want people to take it to heart. Now is probably not the right time, maybe when everybody comes back from break. But is it really time to have that conversation of switching to the Google Authenticator app or FIDO keys for your Gmail for staff?
I think you can find opportunities to slowly start to move people over. I mean, I was thinking about this. We used to, before we had MFA required, when somebody would fall for scams multiple times, we would force MFA before everybody else. So maybe this is the kind of same opportunity. If you have somebody who is falling for different scams or clicking on all the phishing links, maybe it's time to move them over to a more secure methodology.
Yeah.
I would do my playbook all over again, where it was like tech department first, and the admins,
Yeah,
and,
that's a good point.
And by the time it got, I mean, that's going to take some time still, but by the time it got to teachers, everybody else was thriving in it for a while.
No, that's a really good point. Do you know in admin console, can you turn off the SMS feature and force it to Authenticator?
Oh,
can you?
You can, yeah. You can enforce the types. So,
all right. Well,
they also recommend password managers, which can be controversial, but the nice thing about a password manager is it allows you to have more secure password policies. Random passwords, unique, very, very long. I use a password manager myself, and I don't know a single password other than the one to get into it.
I thought you were going to leave it at I use a password.
You just use the word password. It's great. Never forget it.
1, 2, 3.
And then the last section of this, which we won't go into in detail, but they give you specific recommendations for iPhone and for Android, and it's really, really good. So if you got one of those phones, take a look at the CISA guidance on encrypted mobile communications.
You know what I found interesting about the paragraph about password managers is they went into detail and listed 4 or 5 different password.
They listed
managers?
products, yeah.
I was kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah. I mean, especially coming from a federal agency, you don't usually see people mentioning products, but
because it can be seen as an endorsement.
Yep, but they list them and then they link to them. So,
this has got a little bit of traction over on K-12 Tech Pro, and one of the comments today was along the lines of, it's interesting to see the about face from a federal agency about encrypted communications. And I think the fact that they listed password managers can also be kind of in that same breath, as we just said, that it can be seen as an endorsement. And this is pretty out of character for them to list a product like that. It's out of character for them to endorse into an encrypted messaging.
Yeah.
But I think, it doesn't take a very, very smart person to connect the dots and say that must mean this threat is very real and it's much more widespread than what was originally thought. It's all very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I was also, not just that they listed these products, but most of these products, if not all of them, are free. So that's the good part about it. But there's really not a strong endorsement of one over the other. So if you really read through it, while they do list all these products, they're not necessarily endorsing one or the other.
Oh, they clearly endorsed Android over iPhone.
Barf.
Kidding.
And that's it for the news.
All right.
And that was brought to you by Fortinet. You can email fortinetpodcast@fortinet.com for all your Forta needs.
I got visited by my Forta rep yesterday.
How was that?
It was good. Came in for a quick chat. I like it when a vendor comes in, says what they need to say, and doesn't waste hours upon hours. In and out. Trending topic, year in review, trending topics. Mark, you've done some amazing research about topics that we kind of thought were going to be top of mind this year. How do we do?
Yeah, so we have talked about a lot of different things on the K-12 Tech Talk podcast this year. We've come up with the major topics that we saw in 2024. We've done this for the last couple of years. There's a lot of overlap with last year. In fact, last year we talked about cybersecurity. We talked about data privacy. We talked about burnout. Boy, that got real, didn't it?
Says the guy that quit his job.
Yeah. You know what was really funny is on that episode, which was December of last year, a full 6 months before I left my district, I talked about quitting my job and becoming the tech director for the park across the street. And
Yeah.
boy, that came pretty close to doing that. So got halfway there, I guess you could say.
You spend quite a bit of time in the park across the street, though. So I mean, you could almost say that you're there.
Sure do. Sure
Yeah.
do. All right, let's talk about some of the major topics. Who wants to go first?
Okay. So first up, the influence of social media on K-12, and kind of pre-show we talked about this, and we're including cell phone in the news or the media hype that cell phone bans have gotten this past year. Social media, everything from TikTok trends to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And of course, cell phone bans, major topics for this year. Actually, I'm sorry, not the State Department of Education, but the Federal Department of Education. Oh boy, refraining from jokes. Came out with guidance that everybody has to come up with a cell phone policy, not necessarily a cell phone ban, but a cell phone policy. So I find that interesting. I think this is going to be continue to be a trend in 2025, and may actually gain steam. As legislative sessions start to spin up. I think this might be a priority for several state legislators in our area. So it's likely to be a trend across the country, especially if it's being pushed at the federal level. What do you guys think?
Yeah, there was also the bill that almost went to Congress about, it was from Ted Cruz, enforcing school districts to have social media policies and screen time policies. So all the way from states, from local school districts to states to federal agencies, everybody's looking at ways to regulate social media, and obviously the cell phone is the mechanism for that. So you're right. I think it's going to continue to be a trend in the next year, though.
Okay. The whole social media, regulating social media from the school's perspective, I don't think that's the school's responsibility. I think social media platforms have a larger responsibility to put some teeth or some action behind their age verification. I mean, they have the terms of service that say nobody 13 years of age or under should be using this, but everybody knows everybody and their dog lies on the age thing. Like, same thing with an 18-year-old going to Budweiser's website and fakes the age scrolly thing, or what year were you born. It's useless. Until social media companies do better at that, that's not school's responsibility. Unfortunately, it brings drama to the school and brings problems to the school because of TikTok or social media, Snapchat, whatever. But I don't think it's the school's responsibility to police usage of that.
Now, what do you think about, but on the school device, you would say it is, right? During the school day or at home on the school device?
Correct. Yeah, no, absolutely on the school device, it's blocked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's essentially what the bills are trying to say, is that you have guidance going out to parents to say we got to protect our kids from social media, and they're going after, I don't say going after, but they're pushing legislation for students, for parents, or for kids, for parents, and for big tech. And schools, kids are at schools for a good portion of the day, so you kind of can't exclude the impact of education on social media. But you're right, the liability, the responsibility, it's a very hard one to govern.
And I would argue that policing of social media on district devices is already covered with SIPA and some maybe privacy law and FERPA laws. Like, I don't know that there needs to be another law that says social media should be banned on a school device, because it's already kind of covered. Yeah.
Some of that is almost government, I don't know, wanting to say it again. Like They're catching up, and this sounds like what we should be saying.
Right.
But then all the texts are like, well, we already do this.
Right.
Yeah. Do that part of it.
Well, that's exactly the language too. It's follow the existing SIPA framework to require schools to block and filter social media on federally funded networks and devices. So that's boom. That's
hell?
Everybody.
It's a duplicate, whatever.
Yeah, I think you're just doubling down on it.
There's some good conversation here, I think, too, about this circle thing of, because schools have social media presence. That's how we get information to parents, to students.
Yes. That's
that circle thing too. Like, we're like, well, we need an Instagram because that's where the kids are. Well, that's the problem, is that the kids are on Instagram. Right. Like our middle school will post things. Well, we have middle schoolers that aren't, 13 yet, whatever. Like, I don't know, that's that circle thing where the school does have some responsibility when we have we have made accounts to reach out to kids via social media.
Yeah. Twitter,
But
to me, Twitter is a great example of that. When Twitter started putting porn in their terms of service as an allowed thing,
Yeah.
are you going to continue to have your superintendent do we're canceling school because of snow day only on Twitter and driving kids to
right.
Twitter, and then have some idiot post a porn link in the comments?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're playing with fire there.
Well, and also they're really trying to push ed tech companies to pull out the personalization sides of things. You know, they don't want targeted ads and things like
Sure.
that are gonna addict students. There is a benefit to it though, right? And if you've been on Google and you search something around self-harm, the first thing you're going to get is some personalized content from that search that says, here's the number for the suicide helpline.
Right.
So I think there is some benefits and there's some strengths and benefits towards the tools that social media and ed tech companies are using right now, but clearly we've gone overboard with the usage of it, and that tends to be the big trend of 2024.
And we've talked about the screen time thing before too. I hope the screen time thing, if it becomes we have to limit kids during the school day, I hope it doesn't have to be a tech solution. I hope it's like teacher led. We track how many times the kids have the screen open in each class kind of thing. I hope it's not another burden put on the tech department.
It'll be,
but I don't know how that's going to play.
yeah, it'll be a tech problem.
Somebody's probably already making an app for that.
Well, Clever already has some rudimentary reporting based on that. It's not, I don't know that it's real time. Who's the other one? Lightspeed has a solution that does that. Like there are solutions out there that track usage in particular sites, hours of time, so on and so forth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you just laugh about that. The seventh hour teacher is going to get messed over.
Sure. Oh,
Little
no.
Johnny
Great
comes
point.
in and
Great point.
and he's
Yeah.
already used up his time.
Yeah, he's already used
Oh,
up his
yeah.
90 minutes for the day, and he gets to history last hour of the day, and now the teacher can't have him do a Google quiz because he burned his 90 minutes watching YouTube in English class.
I mean, that is a really good way of getting out of your last period classes. If you're just a student, just keep the laptop open during your lunch period, and boom, you're
watching
gone.
Enya on YouTube.
All right. Next topic.
Call me.
Last year, big topic was cybersecurity. It still is, but I think it pivoted slightly to include more data security when it comes to protecting the data that you have in your system, and this includes both cybersecurity and data privacy.
I know that I'm thinking about, and I mean, I feel like Josh talked about data security stuff and caring about DPAs and all that stuff for a long time, and I'm kind of catching up. I want him to do all the work. It's in my mind for sure more 2024 compared to the past. All schools should care about, like, again, during COVID and like, hey, we got to get stuff going. Just turn on the faucet, man. Let's connect the apps.
Yeah.
Let's get the rostering going. Now I pay attention. I pay attention to what data we're sharing out, and I think that's going to continue on.
Yeah.
Do you think that's solely a tech thing right now and like a data privacy technology kind of thing? Do you think that district leadership, school leadership has adopted that mentality?
There's been a shift because early on it was the nerds screaming about it. I think as time has gone on, more central offices have started hearing about it from either State Department of Education's or state consortium groups. And, there are states that have passed laws about it as well, data privacy laws for K-12. So yeah, there has definitely been a shift. There's been a shift in my district, and we're buying a new time clock system, and the superintendent brought it up. Hey, do we need to capture a privacy agreement with this company? They're not sending student data, but they're going to have employee data, which, if you didn't know, that's different than a normal DPA because that typically just covers student data. So yeah, so that has actually become to top of mind for my district leadership, and I'm super, super thankful for that. because it makes my job easier. It makes my job easier when I have to tell somebody, no, we can't do it because this site is refusing to sign a DPA, that I have that administrative support.
The last one I think we'll talk about is federal funding. That was a big topic, and we've talked about it for a while. Funding is going away.
Yeah.
And we should brace for impact.
Yeah, we've talked about this quite a lot in terms of the end of ESSER funding, as well as what was that other big thing that was at threat this year? Oh, that's right. E-rate.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's like out of both sides of your mouth, this threat to E-rate that it might go away, but at the same time, and good on them for gathering data on the want and the need for cybersecurity grant funding through E-rate. They were blown away, or the response that came back was, what was it, 2.7 billion or 3.7 billion dollars in cybersecurity requests for the cybersecurity pilot through E-rate. Fantastic need. We knew it was there. Everybody that listens clearly submitted a request for funding for that. So yeah, there's some real threats to funding. ESSER's gone away now. Budgets are shifting. Chris, we were talking before the show that budgets, you've got to put those puzzle pieces back together now. The puzzle, same things are in the puzzle, but you got to get it to fit differently now.
Yeah, I'm at my school district. We're going through some superintendent changes with retirement, and recapping with my current super who's on his way out. I think we had done like 2 Chromebook fleet refreshes. We had introduced one-to-one to another school district, a server refresh, some camera system stuff. All of those are high dollar items I just said, and they were all covered over the last several years with ESSER, with a bond, with non-local money, and that's all it's done. So new superintendent coming in, we've already had some meetings prepping him because we're getting ready to have Chromebooks come up due and servers needing refreshed. That we don't have that funding anymore. It's going to be local money, and the ask for that money, it's been a while. Like COVID, it's been a while since that happened. Yeah, we all kind of have the fog from it still. But really, my school district hasn't spent locally quite a bit of money for tech. It's been a while.
Local monies, you mean?
Yeah.
So we got ESSER has gone away. E-rate is potentially going away, and the E-rate cybersecurity pilot was billions of dollars requested for only $200 million. And we have I hate to go this way, but we got a Republican administration coming in, and the Republicans are not necessarily ones for investing massive amounts of federal money. So this could be a really interesting 2025 to see where federal funding goes for education.
Well, it's fair to say it was no secret one of the top talking points was budget and kind of shrinking budget items. So yeah, you're exactly right, Mark. There's not going to be a lot of extra money coming from, at least from the federal level. I think districts are going to have to start really sharpening the pencil on their local dollars and their state dollars. It's going to be interesting.
Well, that's 2024. All doom and gloom 2024. What's coming in 2025?
What a downer.
I know.
Yeah, as we jump into this last segment, we want to give a shout out to Extreme, Dominic Mayer over at Extreme Networks. You can email dmayer@extremenetworks.com. I have Extreme Switching. It's been a great year, a great 2024 with our Extreme Switches. Again, email Dominic Mayer, dmayer@extremenetworks.com.
What do you think is going to happen?
2025?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think funding will continue to be a concern. I think chaos isn't the right word. I think you're gonna see a ton of change at the federal level, and what that means at the state and local level, I'm not sure yet. But I think everybody's gonna be really nervous about that, just because they can see the change coming. We're still a month away from inauguration. That first 100 days is going to be telling. But we all know there's going to be change coming. I think from a hardware standpoint, I think you're going to start seeing more and more devices rely on the new PoE standard. I mean, it's not new. BT, the higher voltage or higher amperage PoE standard from cameras to access points, multi-gig links. They require that higher PoE standard. So I think that's going to be important for districts that have spent money on switching. Hopefully, when they go to buy new APs, they have switches that can support that increased PoE load. Chris, what do you think?
I think AI is going to take off. I think AI becomes less trendy. I don't think I don't think it's been a trendy word since it's kind of started. It's the word that keeps coming up. But I think schools are gonna actually start to pick solutions or pick and say, this is what we actually support. Teachers, this is what we want you to use these tools for.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna start seeing that actually put into place in a supported manner of a tech department, as opposed to the wild, wild west that it is right now for a lot.
I think student security is going to come rearing its ugly head in 2025 in terms of the number of cyber attacks that are hitting students, the amount of, as we talked about earlier, the regulations and policies from the federal and state level. I think by the end of this year, we're all going to be talking about methods of rolling out student MFA. I think that's going to be, yeah, I think so. I think this is the year that the first few districts really start picking it up, and then it spreads. It's going to spread a lot faster than staff MFA, but it will be slow to pick up because we have to see the reason. I've said this before, like we don't see the reason for it in the industry. We don't see the reason why we need student MFA other than the student to student stuff. But I think 2025 is where we're going to start to see more and more school districts hit with student focused cyber attacks.
That's the next logical step, right? We've protected staff, we've protected admins, we've protected service accounts. What are the accounts that haven't been protected? Students. It's the next progression. You're right.
Yeah. And regulation and policies. I think personally, I just think big tech is going to be in the spotlight in the next year. I don't think it's any surprise why all the big tech companies are buddying up to Trump right now.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, and Bezos have all been seen hanging out with Trump since the election. I think they know that big tech is going to be in the spotlight. And I think we're going to see the same thing in ed tech as well. I think we're going to see ed tech companies really be hit with either on the cybersecurity or data privacy side of things, and that's going to be a big topic of 2025.
Okay, let me throw something out there that we didn't talk about ahead of time. What's one thing that you hope you see in 2025 from an ed tech standpoint?
I hope that Google makes its investigation tool and some of those cybersecurity options just included as part of the free tier.
Good one. Really good one.
Yeah, I was going to say something very similar of like, I hope that there's going to be more security tools to assist K-12 districts in a much more affordable or accessible way. So yeah, building just off of what Chris said, I hope that there's more. I think CISA and MS ISAC are going to play a more, or I hope they'll play a more important role in 2025.
Yes, MS ISAC is your friend. If you're not a member, join. I hope that we see E-rate survive, either from a ruling from the Supreme Court or if it's shot down, that Congress acts, that they actually do something. And this is one of the one things that they actually accomplish is they reframe E-rate, the funding function of E-rate, and at the same time, cybersecurity items become eligible. EDR services, MFA, SOC services, stuff like that. I think that one trigger alone will lead into a better protected, low-hanging fruit across the board.
Yeah, you really hope it just, or this is my opinion, right? I just hope it stays.
Yeah.
I don't want a new polished thing because that means a whole new paperwork, that online form thing. Yeah. Like, I just hope it stays. I hope we realize if we need to change some sentences in the codifying of how it operates, do it. But don't change anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Just make it the same.
Yeah. Don't remove anything. If anything, add eligible items, not removing them.
It will be really hard for E-rate to go away. I do think there's a very strong chance that E-rate could change. from what it is now. But it's going to be very hard for anybody to say, let's just get rid of this massive funding source for K-12.
And
It's just not gonna
realistically,
happen.
the biggest part to change will be the funding mechanism, how E-rate and USAC is funded.
Yes. Yep. But the danger of that, though, is that could change how it's governed. And
Sure.
I
No,
think
you're right.
right now, the way it's governed is, I think we have a healthy balance. It's very, very well done. If it moves towards the private sector and suddenly USAC or E-rate is funded for directly funding schools from the telecom providers, that could be really dangerous.
Yeah.
So
No, that'd be a disaster. Yeah, for as hard to deal with or hard to deal with's wrong. How for as difficult as USAC can be with forms and deadlines and PIA reviews and stuff like that, it works. Like once you do your first couple of years of requests, 470s, 471s, the whole process, it works.
yep.
A change to that would be tough to swallow. Anything
Well,
else, guys?
We'll see what happens in 2025. Best of luck. This is our last episode before.
Yeah, for
What a
2025.
downer. I feel like it was a downer.
So,
no.
man,
I'm not really
Speaking of-
excited for
speaking of-
2025 now.
downers. The latest episode of Shrinking, man, that was depressing. The next, I guess we're off the next 2 weeks. It just depressing downer got me thinking. The next 2 weeks we are on vacation, but we are likely going to re-release some of our ransomware interviews over the next 2 weeks. So if you haven't heard those, pay attention over the next 2 weeks. It won't interfere with our episode progression, so we'll still hit episode 200 towards late January. But these will be re-releases of ransomware interviews over the next 2 weeks. Any final thoughts for the last episode of 2024, guys?
Love you guys.
We should say thanks to our sponsors from the year.
That's who I was talking to.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
that makes sense.
All right.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right, guys, have a safe. Are you guys traveling?
A little bit.
All right.
To the fridge.
All right. Well, we'll close it on that note. Have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Merry Kwanzaa, to whatever you celebrate, everything you celebrate. Be safe, and we'll see you next year.
We might not be the same. You share the same pain that I do.
The views and opinions expressed on the K-12 Tech Talk podcast are the personal opinions of Josh, Chris, and Mark, and do not represent the views or opinions of our sponsors or other organizations that we're affiliated with. The material and information presented here is for general information and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We were buying words about the phrase of the day and selling songs just to